to another episode of the Beast Files. I am Jeff 831, and I am here with a special guest today, Harrison 441. Harrison, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing so good. Happy to be on this show and the opportunity to chat with you. This is awesome.
So good, and always. I mean, like, you probably are tired of me kind of asking you. Like, you always have cool style. Like, I mean, just even that jacket and that hat. Well, what's the story with that hat?
Literally just got it the other day. He's a designer. Forget his name, unfortunately, but he's a designer in San Francisco. Bought it on my birthday, and 3 days later, I randomly ran into him at an event.
The actual designer.
The actual designer.
That's sweet.
He's married to a friend of mine from back in the day. I was like, great, very small world. And he had seen the Beast Games episode the day before. I was like,
no way.
It was kismet. It was cool. Yeah.
So before we kind of get into details of episode 5, which is obviously you were a star on, have you noticed any changes? I mean, are people noticing you on the street? Are people saying hi to you or kind of giving a second look at you?
No, they're not. However, what I am really, really enjoying, I have friends and people in my life that I, from 15, 20 years ago who have, saw me on the show or knew I was on the show because I was posting about it and have been tracking me in like the background, and then reached out and said, hey, it's been so fun watching you with my family. We've been rooting for you. And there's like my photography high school teacher.
Are you kidding?
To like soccer coaches, or my house cleaner when I was living in Los Angeles saw me on. He was like, hey, like, that's you. So it was really cool to reconnect with all these people. That's been really fun.
It's sweet. I'm sure there's dozens and dozens, if not hundreds more, who are watching you who just haven't reached out yet. Yeah. It's small world. I mean, everybody's watching the show. But kind of before we get to the island, like I want to go back because I had this conversation with you kind of one-off, is like the way you got a ticket to the island was pretty unique. And it kind of might have got lost in episode 4, but I'd love for you to tell everybody kind of how did you get a golden ticket to the island?
Yeah, they didn't show it on the edit, and that's definitely been a number one question I've been getting. So I believe 54 people left on that final challenge. We had to get into groups of 6 for the 9 platforms, and I quickly, I knew I had to take action. I was kind of like also like being very vocal on my platform of like in terms of just like organizing like the crew. We didn't know what the challenge was going to be, so I was like kind of developing chemistry with like people I hadn't met and then a couple people that I did know. And so I was kind of like already the kind of the vocal kind of leader of like, all right, we're going to work together, we're going to figure this out. And once the rules were shared and they said go, we saw kind of Queen's group like immediately make their kind of choice, or Queen ran, and we were like, oh, frantic,
We got to go.
and like we got to make a move, we got to go. And so I quickly say, hey, I will give you $100,000 if I win the 5 million. And most everyone, I got 4 out of the 5 coins immediately. They put in I was like, oh my god, okay,
That worked.
That worked. And then another player, Aubrey, who actually I'm friends with since Vegas, she really obviously wanted to go as well, and so she was a little bit more hesitant to give me her coin. I'm like, I'm so sorry, Aubrey, like I have the other coins. And then so very grateful to her. She gave me the final coin. I just ran to the platform during the headlights and got to the helicopter. Like, okay, what do I do now?
Yeah, so I'm on. I mean, because I could only imagine 54 remaining contestants, 6 seats left. It's like your chances are 1 in 9. It's slim.
Yeah.
So the fact that you get on, I kind of just want to fast forward. We get on a charter plane, 6-7 hour flight. You kind of feel the sense of freedom a little bit, but also like, what's next? Who knows?
Yeah.
When we get on the island, eventually, and they kind of, Jimmy tees up the challenge. Because we went in order of helicopters, you were on the last helicopter.
Yeah.
Like, when he teed this up, did you know right away that you wanted to compete for the island?
I mean, not right away. I was just looking around. I was also like, I was at the end of the line, so I was also seeing who was going to like
Choosing.
go out and choose the island. But You know, little background on me, like something that I love. This is what like this is a passion of mine. It's what I most of my content is that I post on Instagram is I love floating in water.
I've
Like
seen it.
yeah, just like it brings me peace and calm and like and it's just like if there was any challenge or like place that made the most sense for me to go, be featured and like and also compete. I was like, I want to go swimming. I want to rest. I want to like get in that pool. I want to float. And so it just felt right. And also, I competed since I was on the final helicopter in every single challenge, and so I was in the mode of like, I just want to keep playing. I want to keep like competing.
Yeah, I don't need to rest. You kind of have this momentum, so you don't want to take a bye.
Exactly, and like it took me a long time to kind of, I would say, start taking action because I noticed that like people that are getting out of the city to the island, like they took action, or they're like their social game is really strong, or like whatever that. And so I noticed like, all right, I need to start making moves and competing. And so I was like, the island. I was like, I'm ready to play. I was feeling lucky as well. So yeah.
Well, I mean, and you kind of mentioned the social game. Do you remember when you and I met?
Yeah, we were in that hotel in Toronto.
Yeah, the car wash.
What?
Yeah,
What's
the
that?
car like before we got fitted for our uniforms.
Yes, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah, I totally remember. Yeah, it was like this because I remember I met you and you kind of shared a little bit about your history and you're from the Bay. I'm like, oh, I live in the Bay, and then you share with me your nickname too. I'm like, oh, that's a sweet little nickname, Heshi. And yeah, it was when I saw that you chose in the island, I remember that conversation. I'm like, oh, you're super congenial. Like I feel like you can get along well with anybody. I'm like, you're gonna be a force to be reckoned with on the island. That's what I was thinking.
Oh, I'm happy to hear that. I mean, like obviously, like when we met, like obviously it was like, oh, you're from the Bay as well. I loved connecting with you, and also like though we weren't like playing the game together per se. I felt like from afar, like we had each other's backs, or we could also like. I was like I can vouch for that guy being a good guy.
That's how I felt. Like we always saw each other. Like, oh,
Yeah.
there's Harrison.
Exactly.
It is one of those cool things, especially because you meet so many people. But not everybody remembers those conversations or those people. But we always like, hey Jeff, hey Harrison. So it was. I kind of felt the same way.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the deal. You chose onto the island. Like, what was the driving force? Like, what was the thing that kind of said, okay, I'm doing this?
A lot of my decisions were based in like where are the opportunities to have the most fun. So I was like, this is where I'm going to have the most fun, and also like it was like, there was a vibes check for me throughout the games. Like even on the tower competition,
Yeah.
I originally was on 4-star, the team that dropped the ball
Yeah.
first, and I was on that when I was first on that team. I was like, I'm not feeling the vibes, and I ended up trading to get to 2-star, and so I just kind of intuitively read like the vibes of like being on the island. I'm like, it just felt right, and then in my head the calculus of 1 in 10, 1 in 9 chance for $1.8 million or the island, and you get to potentially stay in the game. I was like, I kind of like those odds. I'm like,
Yeah,
those numbers made a lot of sense to me.
And you had the benefit of looking down the line and kind of going, okay, it's Tim 672, it's Jamal 514. Like you see who you're going up against versus choosing in and having to go cross your fingers.
Yeah.
So like looking at your competitors, was there someone you were kind of going, okay, this person is going to give me the toughest run, or did you just not even think about the competition?
I think Jamal was an easy one to like kind of just like size him up and like because he'd won like the sack race challenge. He was like doing handstands and everything throughout, backflips throughout like all of the challenges. And then obviously Lyric, but not for his like physical qualities. Given we were on an island, he's a fireman.
Yeah.
I felt like those skills were going to come in handy on the island per se, but obviously not so much. But those were the two initially that I was kind of sizing up. But you can't underestimate anyone on the challenge because the challenges you don't know what's coming, and the challenges like are, have an even playing field.
And when we look back at all the other challenges we did, mostly team-based, kind of small scale, kind of social games. Like this was the first time where it's like, hey, you have a 1 in 9 chance, and you probably knew there wasn't just going to be one challenge. Like,
Right.
did you have a mindset shift? Like, did you know, hey, like I need to play this, I need to change my strategy, or were you just kind of playing the games as you had in the past?
That's a great question. I think at that moment, it felt like I can kind of control my destiny, and I was like, all right, game on, time to compete. So I played competitive soccer throughout my entire life. College soccer, was an All-American. It was like that was my life.
Yeah.
And so this felt like, okay, like let's start my heart. Let's get into like competitive nature. That's no more, not as much luck per se in these. Let's strategize. Let's really be thoughtful. So that mindset of like, all right, it's time to compete.
You could sense that. I could kind of, I mean, obviously, like watching your guys' challenge, like this was my favorite episode because like this was an episode where I get to be a true audience member. Like I didn't participate, so I got to watch it, and it was like seeing people kind of really start to compete in the games is like, oh my gosh, this is awesome.
Yeah. I'm sure it kind of built excitement from on the island where you guys were.
Yeah, because we watched it like Hunger Games. Like we had this giant big screen. We're sitting there watching it live. Sometimes it goes in and out. Like sometimes there's audio.
Yeah.
But like I remember the first thing we saw the helicopter flying to your island.
Oh, no way. Okay.
Oh yeah. So we were watching it, and then we look over and we see the helicopter. We're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. So I just want you to tell me about like once he said hide and seek, when did you realize that it was like, hey, we're not just hiding from each other. Like we're hiding from trained professionals.
Honestly, like Jimmy tells us, there's going to be 4 special guests. And so at that point we're like, and they're coming, but we still didn't know Navy SEAL, like who was
celebrities.
Celebrities. Like we obviously like the running person, like the person that was like number 1 on everyone's like hit list was like, oh, Kevin Hart's going to come find us. That type of
Kevin Hart, The Rock, John Cena.
Yeah. So I didn't until like 30%, like 10 seconds before they arrived, because we kind of heard the helicopter. And then we're like, oh, okay, it's gonna be Navy SEALs. And then once they arrived, we're all kind of like, wow. And then the backflips off the helicopter. We're like, yes! we're all kind of just frozen or just waiting. And Jimmy's like,
to all of you, I
run,
know why you're
go.
They're gonna hunt you down.
And that was the moment where we were watching this live. Like you see all of us look around, like everybody was having FOMO. Like, are you kidding me? Like you get to play hide and seek with Navy SEALs.
Yeah.
So when they show it on the episode, they highlight you, and you're like on the total opposite of the island. Yeah. Like you ran almost the farthest. Like, was that your strategy to just get as far away from base as possible?
Here we go.
Yeah.
Here we go.
And it's funny.
I really want to go as deep as I
the,
can.
the Navy SEAls reflect. Like, all right, what do we think these players are gonna do? Run to the exact opposite side of the island. Let's go there first. Like damn, man. Not
they know what they're doing.
Strategy. But that was my strategy. Run as deep into the forest as I possibly could. And also, we didn't know the landscape, the geography of the island. So we were also like, we didn't know what we would be able to hide like behind or up or like, so we were kind of just figuring that out. Throughout the entire, like in the beginning, I was charging it. I was sprinting and like dripping sweat. My camera guy lost me almost immediately. Like I was like ahead of the entire group. I originally went really deep and then went out of bounds, and one of the guards had to walk me back into bounds. I was like, where do I go? And he's not, and like the guard isn't talking to me. I'm like, okay. So I get to the farthest point I can. I go off track maybe, let's say 30 yards, and I find like this big tree stump and a dirt mound, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of hollowed out. And I started digging like the dirt so I can hide basically inside a hollow tree. Mm-hmm. I set up my camera there and I started digging, and I try to fit myself in and I can't fit.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm literally like a blue stick hanging out of like a green. I was like, this is not the right hiding spot. So then I decided to go like just through all the vines, the thicket, just like as deep as I could and like all the thorns are getting like attached to my hand, and the cameras and the walkie are getting like caught to everything, but I just keep going, and like I thought, if you want to find me, you need to also go through this horrible process to get to my spot. So I get it to my spot deep on the island, or as far as I can on the island, land in my place, hide underneath the vines, and then suddenly I start getting bit by fire ants, and it's
Like
already
real fire ants.
real fire ants. Like
Dude.
I've never experienced fire ants, and they're like kind of all biting my legs.
Sweet.
But it was already like, it felt like already like a half an hour in, so I couldn't move. So I just like the entire time was like slapping fire ants off of me. So
And so like how like they show in the show like where like it seems like they're really close to you. Like could you hear them? Like did you see them?
I couldn't see them, but there was definitely a point. It could have been that what they showed. I definitely heard. Please don't find me. Please don't find me. Please don't find me. The Navy SEALs, and I think it was Carl or someone with me with that Navy SEAL, and I was like I was controlling my breath, and I was also listening to like bird calls or bird sounds, because I thought the Navy SEALs were like triangulating via like their own bird calls. Like whatever was going on in my head is just like insane.
It's like total primal. It's like you're being
totally.
chased on an island.
But Jeff, this was the most fun.
Oh my
Like
gosh.
think back to your childhood, child self. Like I'm on a deserted island. I am playing hide and seek, the best game in the world, and this is for like high stakes.
Yes.
Against Navy SEALs.
Yes.
And like the entire time, like I'm like just looking at my camera. I'm like, this is so fun. This is so fun. This is so fun.
And I mean, I literally have goosebumps under my sweater thinking about it, because like, again, almost everybody on our island was like, why didn't I say yes? So,
Right.
okay, so to fast forward, obviously they didn't find you, which was sweet. They found Kelly 797, and you hear the siren. So like when the siren goes off, like what's going through your mind? Is it like get out, or you're like, oh no, the game's over?
That's a good question. It's like I didn't want it to. It was a mix. I didn't want it to end because of the rush, because the adrenaline was so amazing. But once we heard the horn and we heard on radio like come out of your hiding spots, like the game is over. It was pure elation, but then getting out of my hiding spot took 30 minutes because I got lost. I was lost on the like how to get back through, and then I remember just like running back and being like, woohoo, yeah! So it was a good time.
And then you get back, and then was that the only challenge for the day?
That was the only challenge for the day.
And then that night there was that crazy storm.
Actually, the storm was the second
Okay.
night, but they showed it as the first night.
But while we're talking about it, like, because we experienced that, but we were staying in like cabins, like we had a roof and windows. Like you kind of went underneath the hut. Did you leave your cabana for that storm?
Yeah. So the story behind that, it was a really warm night, and so I left my cabana to go sleep on the couch in the common space. It was just a little bit kind of breezier there. And I get my eye mask and my blanket, and I'm on the couch. And I wake up it felt like 3 a.m. to literally the loudest cracks of lightning and crazy rain going sideways, and like it would go crack, bright light, like loud. And so I literally kind of open my eye mask, and the camera right in my face. And I was like, a little bit like out of it, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna play this up. I was like, I'm in the eye of the storm, woo! Like playing it up. But it was a legit crazy storm. Like we were all fairly nervous. I was with like a producer, a sound guy, and a cameraman, and every time the lightning hit or struck, we all kind of would stare at each other and like, are we okay?
Yeah. Are we? Is there anywhere better we should be?
Yeah. Like, can someone look up what to do in a lightning storm? And anyway, they did also position the camera at the $5 million on the barge in the water because they were thinking there's a chance that the lightning's gonna strike. Like,
oh, that would have been sweet.
Yeah. So anyway, it was a legit insane storm, and what a place to experience it.
Oh my gosh. So okay, so you do challenge 1, and then you kind of go back, and obviously there's now 8 of you. Like, are you guys like chumming it up, or are you becoming better friends with other people? Did you have any friends on the island? Like, was there anybody you were close with when you chose in?
I was like Jamal and I were like friendly. We'd hung out in the city a bit, and then everyone else I was meeting for the first time.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
And was everybody getting along, or like, because the thing about the games, it's fairly friendly, but like I just didn't know when you have $1.8 million island at stake, are people kind of being a little tougher?
Everyone was being, friendly. This is I should probably also share this. Like, one of the other reasons I also decided to play the island, like, I honestly was getting a little over socialized. Like, I was like, I kind of wanted a break.
I need some alone time.
I need some alone time. So I was a little sensitive with like all the socializing. So like Brennan, 7-Eleven, and Tim, I forget his number.
672.
672. They so friendly, but they love to chat.
Yeah.
They love to chat, and so that was probably my the hardest. So it was just like I could take a break.
Yeah, please just put me in solitary confinement.
Right.
For a day.
Right. If that's one of the challenges on the island, great.
I love it. So so now we're down to 8. We're in challenge 2, and this is the coconut. Essentially, it's bocce. We don't need to really tee up the rules.
Yeah.
Get closest to the line without going over. Did you kind of feel lucky with the coconut you got selected, or did you choose that color? Was there any strategy to that?
Yeah, we basically were presented with the coconuts in the different colors, and we got to reach in for like whatever color that we wanted. I chose green because I have green eyes, and green looks good on me. So
nice. So when we get in there, and it kind of worked out well where you were last, and you kind of it looks like you and Esteban are kind of chatting it up, and I think you kind of show later in the games you guys were a little bit closer. When did your guys' connection start?
Sitting pretty over here because we're going.
Started
might not even get to us, but
probably right after the vote off the island challenge.
Okay, so not even then.
Well, actually, let me take that back. Jamal, actually, prior to the coconut, the bocce ball challenge, Jamal was actually kind of talking, like, kind of directing or communicating about like, hey, let's kind of pair up. Yeah. Like, and Esteban was kind of part of like that Jamal kind of trying to coordinate alliance. Yeah. I forget who else may have been a part of that. So me and Esteban were kind of like understood, like, all right, we can potentially play this game together. But Sweet. Like, it really hadn't solidified at that point. But I can talk about kind of how that progressed a bit prior to the box challenge.
Cool. Yeah, we'll get there. So then, I mean, when you rolled, I mean, again, like, you're kind of this happy-go-lucky guy all the time, but you look super confident. You looked really calm. Was that like really what was going on inside?
Yes. Like, I mean, I felt good because obviously there's already one person out, and Jamal had honestly like just a weak throw. Like, he underestimated it. Yeah. I was nervous because, like, we didn't do any practice throws. Yeah. So you just have to hope that you don't slip. It doesn't slip out of your hand, or you don't overthrow. So there was definitely like butterflies and nerves when it comes to your turn, but I felt pretty good about like not going home. So, and I was my toss was easy, no problem.
And and Jamal 514 and Tim 672 go home, and when we're watching this, we're like, oh, those are two of the tough competitors. So now you're down to 6. Is that right?
Yeah.
So you're down to 6, moving on to kind of challenge 3, the vote off. Yeah. And I'll tee up kind of the vote off to the folks. Is we, the folks who did not compete for the island, there was 51 of us, and can
I actually go back really quick?
Yeah.
I think when Jamal got eliminated, that something also happened with like my psyche. Like I was like, one is like, man, like you have to be like, this is anyone's game. Because I thought going in like he was going to be like a main competitor on this island. So when he kind of was eliminated, I was like, wow, like one, this could easily happen to me, and two, I was like, man, like I got a shot at this. So I was kind of building up confidence, from that. So I just want to mention that.
Well, that's because again from our seat, everybody was like, and again, you buy into the hype. It's like, oh my gosh, did you see Jamal in the sack race? He's born in Panama. He's born to win this island. So like everybody's telling these kind of narratives, and everybody buys into it. So when he was gone, I was like, oh my gosh, this is nuts. So then the next one is the vote off, where this is where the 51 people who are not competing for the island get to vote, and who get to vote someone off the island, kind of Survivor style. Yep. And whoever has the most votes off the island gets eliminated. However, there's the catch where Jimmy says, hey, if you think you're going to get voted off, you can choose out of competing for the island and go back to the boat, and you're back in the games. Kind of fast forward in this one, it was interesting to see that Misha had the least amount of votes. Yeah. And then it was also Esteban and Mia, and then it kind of goes to the 3, which is you 711 and Lyric 895, and then it goes down to you 2. Like again, like you always look super calm and confident. Like what were you feeling then?
I was definitely feeling. I mean, in that game, like when we was to choose, I was like, I don't think I'm.
I have both their flags here.
Least popular. Like,
I'm just gonna show
popular.
you.
I have friends in the top 60. I know people, but then I had to recount like who are the people that was like, oh, maybe my numbers actually don't add up. I was like, oh shoot. And I'd been kind of like, trying to do my best to also. I was trying to actually manipulate or like convince 711 Brennan to go back. Because I was like, hey, you're part of this Avengers like alliance, not a lot of people like the Avengers. Like I was kind of playing that up a bit, and he was like, you're right, maybe like he's considering. So anyway, I had a lot of.
And was that like a fresh kind of rivalry right then, or was it you were just trying to play some mind games, or was there kind of this? Is that where it started?
Yeah, that's where I started kind of just playing the game and
and I think that's what's so cool about this episode is this is where you start to see people play the game. And again, we're playing. This is a competition. I think we got super lucky that most people were good. Like most people played the game pretty darn fair, but they knew how to twist when they needed to.
Totally.
So it gets down to you 2. You kind of mentioned your network of friends and their network, but you also said, "Whew, I'm nervous," or something to that degree. When you looked at Lyric, was there any part of you? It was just you 2. Any part of you that wishes you would have got back on the yacht?
Honestly, no. I was content with kind of my decision to stay. Monsi, who was like my ride or die friend, I was like, and she's vocal, so I was like hoping that she would kind of like, rally the troops on the yacht. She told me, and so I trusted that. So I definitely had butterflies, but like I was content with whichever way it went. And also I didn't know Lyric throughout the game, so we just met as well. So I didn't know whether he was popular or like had much friends.
I mean, this is one of the kind of the highlights that you realize. Obviously, we have challenges, but a lot of the game is played in between the challenges.
Yeah.
You know, the social game is important. Like, are you making new friends? Do they trust you? Are there people that can look out for you, or you can look out for them? So it's you know, I think that's what this, because I got to know Lyric, and Lyric is a solid guy.
So solid.
Yeah,
Like,
and
I really like him. Yeah.
and I think it was just I think someone, it might have been Christian, said it. 723 is like, he just didn't really have a strong social game, and these are the times where you need to have it.
And Lyric and I actually talked yesterday, and we talked about like kind of our reasons for joining. And we both said, one of the reasons we both said were like, we were tired with the socializing. So that's where it came and bit us.
I mean, like that's one of the reasons why you don't see me in this episode. Like, when we're on the yacht, I'm like in the far corner. I'm just trying to get a breather. And that yacht was, I mean, like, don't get me wrong, it's a yacht, but it was tight. And I'm like, I just need some alone time too.
Totally. And also, I get a little seasick. I'm like, I'm a little seasick. It's like, come on, get me off the boat.
Okay, so now we're kind of moving into challenge 4. And so you make it through the check boxes. Was there any type of sea change? Like, now that you were kind of, let's call it the least liked or the most threatened, however you would want to view, you had the most votes off of the remaining players. Was there any kind of change in how the interactions were with the other competitors?
You know what? This is when me and Esteban teamed up.
Okay, yeah. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, so basically, in between, after that challenge was, the vote off challenge was done, we had a little bit of a break. We had like lunch. And Esteban and I are just sitting next to each other, and I go up to him and like, hey, can we chat really quick? And it was like, hey, it's like, you guys, do you want to like team up like until we get to like the very end, and like so we're the ones in the final going against each other, like, you want to do that? And he's like, yeah, I'm in. And so him and I actually connected on being we connected like I forget, like in the airplane down to Panama, but like we both played soccer.
Yeah.
Like, he's from San Diego, I have family in San Diego, so we connected in that way. So I knew I could trust him, and he could trust me, and so that's where we were like, all right, we're playing together.
And that couldn't your timing was impeccable.
I know.
You know, I mean, just like knowing that and watching how the episode played out. So you go in the check boxes, and you want to tee up this challenge for everybody?
Yeah. So essentially 5 boxes on platforms, and there were 4 check marks and 1 X. And the leader, who was me, had to determine where to put the 1 X, which would mean whoever chose that box would get eliminated. And so prior to the start of the game, we all circled up, and Jimmy was like, we need to pick a captain. And that's where we all, basically all of us except for Esteban volunteered to be a captain. Do you want me to keep going?
Yeah, no, yeah. And then 7-Eleven Brennan kind of goes, oh, since you didn't pick, you should pick who it is. And lo and behold, obviously he didn't know that you guys were conspiring kind of at lunch.
Yeah, so that was very fortunate. And my mentality still, though, wasn't like, oh, Mia and Brennan, like it wasn't like, oh, they don't trust me, or like I didn't feel like I was the least popular still, even after the voting game. Like that didn't really impact me or affect me. I was just still like, all right, next game, I want to lead, and like I'm still in this thing.
And so then you're able to pick the order too of who comes in, and obviously clearly you chose 47 Esteban first, and you pretty much say, hey, this one's safe, and you guys already have this alliance, so like he trusts you, and obviously he was safe.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you were kind of like, hey, my targets are 413 Misha and 7-Eleven Brennan. Kind of walk me through, did you, like, in your mind, did you have a stack rank of who you wanted out and why, or?
Yeah. So, yeah, I'll give you some of my thinking, and also there's one part that wasn't shown with my interaction with Esteban that I think could be relevant to share for some behind the scenes. So yeah, the rules were explained, and honestly, it's mental emotional calculus, and with the strategy. Because here is my intention. I'm here to win. However, I want to be true to myself, which is playing a fair, authentic game. But also the name of this game is you got to manipulate or bluff, whatever it might be. So, and then even understanding who to bring out first, who to bring out second. Like there's strategy to that, and they can all talk to each other. And I don't know what they're talking about, like outside of like the circle. So I was, they don't show this, but like prior to like the filming of the actual challenge, I'm just like so confused. I'm like, I'm trying to like make connections and like, it was like, and
it's like
one
that
of the
Julia Roberts meme.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And like one of the producers comes up to me, he's like, do you want help just talking this? You want to just talk it out loud? I'm like, I think so.
Please.
And so, yeah. So anyway, I decide that I want to target like either Misha or Brennan. Misha specifically because he had won the bocce ball. He had found the golden ticket. He was extra confident, like throughout, like when you talk to him, he's just like, this kind of Russian mentality of like, nothing phases me. I'm like, I got this. I'm going to win. This has been easy. So I was like, okay, I'm going to target you. So I decide that I want to make him either third or fourth, to choose, because I don't really, it just felt like there was like giving him only 3. I don't know why I put him towards the end.
Whatever reason you did it, it obviously worked out.
Yeah.
But I kind of want to go back one.
Yeah.
To Mia. So like even before the game started and you kind of looked at Mia and you guys had that conversation about like, what are you thinking? Like I could see you talking to Mia, like, and she wasn't giving you anything. Like, were you expecting that from like, what?
No. So as soon as Esteban chose me as captain, immediately Mia's vibe changed. Like with that look, like she looked at me, she has many, intense looks on the show, but she gave me one of those. And I felt that energy. I felt like, what? Why doesn't she trust me?
What did I do?
What did I do? Like, I feel attacked. And so that even from the get-go, that put a lot of like energy pressure on myself. And so anyway, I wanted her to move forward. Like, that's why I made my intention known. Like, I'm going for Misha, right? But I wanted to hear from her when she first arrived. Like, hey, why did you give me that, that look? Why don't you trust me? And I was like, do you want to say anything? And she's like, no, you're the leader. Like, what do you have to say? I was like, okay.
And especially like in this conversation, and Mia is kind yet a killer. You know what I mean? Like when you see that look or you see her going that, in kind of total competition mode, you don't want to get in her way.
No, so I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I felt
you found it out.
I found it out on global television. And then so I felt that pressure, and I still had the intention of like, hey, I want to win, but also like in a way I could no longer trust her.
Yeah.
And so I didn't want to give her the X, but I didn't want to give her additional information that she could potentially share with Brennan or Misha. Like maybe they had talked off screen.
It's because it is one of these things where you technically could get stuck with the X.
Exactly.
And it's like something that's really hard because like you're the captain, you think you can guide people, but eventually they can choose. And so you could, if you said, hey, here's where the X is or something, she could go, no, Misha, it's not there. It's at number 3.
Exactly.
Or whatever it is. So yeah.
Exactly. And so that clip of me saying, hey, no, you know what? I'm going to keep that information to myself. Like what's in Esteban's box.
Yeah.
That was me thinking that and being strategic. It wasn't me trying to direct her to the X. And I offered like I want you to go forward. I'll tell you where a check mark is. And she's like, no, I don't want that information from you. I'm going with God. I'm doing this on my own. I was like, oh shit.
I know it was intense, and I mean, and good for, because again, your intention wasn't to screw her over, like you said, you wanted to, so she continued on because she didn't get the X,
Yeah.
and so then now kind of Misha comes out, and I love this part of the show because it's like Misha is also like, he was known on the, like, hey, like he's very stoic, but he's intense, and like he, don't let his leggings confuse you. He is a killer.
Yeah.
And he goes out and he's trying to get it out of you. Like, look me in the eyes. And you're like, did you literally just look down the whole time?
1000%. So he comes up, and I have like a spiel to him. It's like, hey, you are a good competitor in this. You're like, I've decided that like I'm not going to help you in finding the right box. So like, this is up to you. I'm not gonna manipulate you. But I'm not gonna help you. And so I knew, like, even before him arriving, I was like, he's gonna try to look into my eyes and read me. And so I knew I was looked directly down. I was like scratching my beard the entire time, not giving any tell. I was trying to not give a tell. And so he would stand and go in between different boxes and ask me questions and look into try to get a response out of me. And I was just like, I'm doing the same thing. Yeah. And then he went up to Esteban actually and asked like, hey, what's like, did he tell you where the X is? And I had told Esteban where the X is because when he first came up, they didn't show this. He was like, my gut's telling me box 2. I was like, don't do that. So he knew.
Wow.
And so he went up to Esteban and asked, hey, where's the check? Or where's the X? And Esteban lied for me. He says he didn't. I don't know. He didn't tell me.
And again, this is part of the game.
Yeah, exactly.
Like again, it's not about, oh, you're a liar. It's no. This is strategic. This is yeah. Like I'm telling you, it was so fun to watch because this is the first time where you really feel like the games are being played out.
Yeah.
So once he chooses that, is there just kind of the sense of
so much relief, but also it's like Lil Yachty is right there.
Yeah. Okay.
That didn't help at all.
I mean, I know it didn't help, but did it hurt? Like, was it like, what is he doing here?
It was definitely, what are you doing here? And also,
All right.
Jimmy was like, do you want to tell him, Lil Yachty, where the X is? I was like, no, I don't trust Lil Yachty either. Lil Yachty is a wild card in this. So
yeah, it was when we saw him walk out, it was hysterical, and then that leads into kind of when 7-Eleven comes out, goes, oh, what's Lil Yachty doing here?
Yeah,
like,
right.
I
didn't even know how to like introduce myself. Like, do I call you Lil or Mr. Yachty? Like
Mr. Yachty, yeah. Oh, that was fun to watch, and then he eventually came over to our island and kind of said hi.
Right.
Walked around. So now you have the sense of relief. Brendan comes out and like, you remind me, like, are you pretty honest with him?
I am honest with him, but he doesn't necessarily trust me up front.
Yeah.
And so with that, I decided to like kind of mess with him a little bit because at first I told him like, you're safe. Both boxes have checks, and then he was like, I don't know. I was like, well, actually, yeah, there might be an X in there.
Oh.
So I kind of I played with him a little bit during that.
I love it.
Yeah, because he was like,
you guys had this kind of pseudo little rivalry, I mean, if you can call it that, on the island. So I love that. I love that it kept going on. So then they kind of go through the boxes, Esteban first, then Mia, and then you, and then they kind of drop them both at once. Mia looked really kind of dejected and down. I mean, he was, because I think he wanted to compete. So like, again, Jamal goes, Larrick goes, and you already had kind of the mindset shift, like, oh my gosh, like here we are, like it's game time. Misha goes. So now you're looking at the final 4. And one of them is your alliance. Like, What are you thinking now?
I'm feeling really good. And like, well, yeah, well, within the gameplay, I'm feeling good. I have Esteban. We got through this together. Like we can trust each other. Like I felt really, really good.
But after that game, like, because you kind of get debriefed and you're like, oh my gosh, that was a psychological kind of mind mess. Like,
Yeah.
how were you feeling? Because like you kind of look like akin to how I felt after the cubes.
Yeah.
It's just like you feel like you're like, oh my gosh.
No,
that was dirty.
I remember talking to you after the cubes on the bus. You're like, we got to talk about this later.
I seriously, I don't think I ate for like 30 hours after that. It was just it was a weird feeling. So like, but that's how you kind of looked during when you were getting interviewed. Was it like, were you able to shake that pretty quickly, or is that like that night? Were you talking to other people? Were you being by yourself?
So that was the most intense feeling for me during the games. After the challenge, that challenge, and this was on camera at first. Mia and I kind of come together and talk through what our exchange and why we understanding each other's perspectives, and why she didn't trust me, why she went on the attack, like why I didn't say give her the information about the box, and it just like felt like we got to reconciliation. It was of respect, and she was like, "Hey, you are like you were of your word. You didn't, you played the game right, like with fairly." And so within that, it felt like I had gained her trust as well, and respect. And so anyway, the camera crew leaves. We're still mic'd up, but like I'm also going through some emotions of one, like that whole interaction and experience. Like I felt a lot of pressure, like millions of eyes on me during that. It felt like my character was being judged. I was feeling a little bit guilty for like missing my friend's wedding that weekend, like being away from friends and family. I was feeling that. So I walked down the beach and like I wept. I was like I was very emotional. Yeah. I was like that one hurt. And so Mia actually came down the beach to come like support me, which was really kind of her, and just like sit with me and just be there. And what she also said, she's like, "Hey, by the way, like it's all part of the game, but also she's like, I'm an actress. I kind of played it up too." I was like, oh, that was brutal for me. For you to
really good. Like, you're a really good actress.
You're really good actress. Like, damn, that hurt. That but like. So anyway, and then later on that night, they're on camera. We were all hanging out. We went for a swim out to the $5 million. I
heard about that. That sounds so cool.
We had a really yummy dinner with lobster dinner and raviolis, and like it was really tuna tartare.
Nice.
And it was like it felt like, all right, we're top four. It felt there's a lightness to it. We were later. We got a break in the early evening. So I also felt good about where me and Mia's relationship was at that point.
Oh yeah, I mean it's cool. Yeah, it's cool when you're vulnerable and then someone comes to connect and you feel it's real. It just again, especially in these games, it happens more often, and you make these connections.
Yeah.
So that was Final Four. You go to bed, and correct me if I'm wrong. Like, was there like rumors, or did someone overtly tell you that, hey, we're finishing the games tomorrow? Like we're gonna crown someone the island kind of champion tomorrow, or was that unknown?
We had a sense that tomorrow, that the next day was going to be the final one. Okay. We had actually kind of taken the little dinghy boat out to the pirate ship to go see it for a shot, and then we saw the pirate ship the day before, and then went back to it.
Got it.
The next morning.
So just everybody's under the assumption they kind of go, hey, this is probably our last night here.
Yeah.
Like tomorrow's kind of Judgment Day.
I think one thing I'll also say about my kind of that emotional moment, like it wasn't also just the pressure, but also like you kind of hear towards the end. Maybe we can get this later, but like this was like my healing journey. This is like I experienced a tough. Everyone has a story of why they're there. For me, it was a healing journey. And before every challenge, I had a friend take his life earlier this year, and we used to compete and play soccer together. And before every challenge, I would talk to him. I would channel him, and I would say, "All right, like, you ready to do this? Like, let's compete. Like, you here?" And then like I would talk to him, and I felt that was like a ritual I would do, and I felt really lucky going into that, and I felt really connected to him through this gameplay. And so anyway, I was kind of going through my own emotional roller coaster with that healing experience as well. So it was.
Yeah, and then I can imagine, like, I mean, and I heard you share that before, and that's like, I mean, so like, did it feel like he was with you on every challenge?
100%. Like it was like I truly I didn't do any challenge without doing that, without like closing my eyes, talking to him, like, all right, and like channeling like his energy, his spirit, whatever it was, and I felt like I'm lucky. I'm gonna progress. We're gonna figure this out together. So it was really special for me to do that.
I can only imagine. I mean, because like, again, like, it's hard to describe the Beast Games. Like,
Yeah.
we're in this adult summer camp where
Yeah.
we remove everything that we're used to: phone, internet. We don't even have a calendar or time, and like, so you're forced into this connection, and you're super vulnerable. And you know, it's not. I mean, you know, I don't want to kind of put words in your mouth, but I'd imagine it'd be hard to like go into a business meeting and like, hey, talk to your friend and kind of go, hey, I want you to be here with me. Like, I can imagine how special it was to kind of experience it with your friend.
Totally. And that's you have time. We have time to reflect on this stuff. Like, you know, during the, you know, when we're not, you know, competing or playing, like, you know, whether it's like we're journaling or whatever. Like we're not on our phones. Like there's a lot of like in kind of internal reflection throughout the games. And I just always remember like writing down like various mantras, like I will win Beast Games, or I have fun and be myself. Have fun and be myself. Like those are the things that I was thinking about on a daily basis. It was like, because we didn't have any other responsibilities. Just like, all right, how am I gonna get through these games?
Wow, that's did you know that was going to be your intention going into the games? Like, hey, like, I know you mentioned, and I've heard about the healing journey. And if you want to share a little bit more about it now, I know we kind of touched on it. I want you to, but I'd love to. Like, what was your intention? Did you kind of play it out like, hey, I'm going to do these challenges. I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to connect with you, and this is my way to experience and grieve at the same time?
Yeah. Yes. So like I chose to apply to Beast Games because I basically had just like we just had my friend's celebration of life. I had a breakup with my partner, just moved out of our place in Los Angeles, just started a new job. It was like, this is a life reset moment.
Yeah.
And I moved out of LA back to the Bay Area. I was like, I need life adventure. I'm doing all the therapy. I'm journaling. I'm floating in water, doing all my wellness stuff. But I actually learned, I got cast on to Beast Games while I was on another solo adventure, healing adventure. I was hiking in the Swiss Alps, and I got notified that I got cast. I was like, you know what? Let's continue this adventure. Yeah. Let me lean back into all, you know, my spirit, my sense of adventure, the things that make me feel like the best version of myself. And then also because I on that hiking journey, I was talking to my friend throughout that entire experience. So I wanted actually to continue that.
Wow.
And so it was a nice little parlay, or like just to progress that throughout the summer. So it was special.
Thanks so much for sharing this. I just think that, like, we all go through challenges that we need to grieve and that are tragic. And I think figuring out ways to like honor and connect with your friend, but at the same time kind of work through your own internal stuff
totally
is awesome. So thanks for sharing your process.
Yeah, definitely.
So to kind of back to the games, we go into now we're in the Challenge 5, Final 4, and when we were on the Pillars, they kind of gave us like this video montage of kind of challenges to come, and one of them was a pirate ship.
Yeah.
And when we are sailing around, like, we see this pirate ship, you know, outside the island. When they kind of shared, hey, the next game is going to be on the pirate ship, like, what was going through your mind?
One, I was like, can I get some Dramamine?
I mean, you normally get seasick?
I get seasick. So I was like, all right, this is going to be cool, but like,
I need some help.
I need some help here.
Did you actually get some?
I got some Dramamine, and so when we get to the next morning, we wake up, we take the boat with Jimmy to the pirate ship, and we walk on and we see the cannons, and we also see these boats floating out in the water with these mannequins with our jerseys on it. And so anyway, we got on a boat and we learned that we're going to be shooting cannons at these sailboats with our mannequins, and that's going to be the next game. And so anyway, we're practicing doing all the cannon, shooting the cannons, and I'm so woozy or just really drowsy. So I think my reactions to the cannon was just pretty delayed or just not into whatever.
I'm shooting a cannon for the first time, no big deal.
Yeah. So obviously we didn't end up playing that game. I'm not sure if you can either decide to keep this in or not.
So what actually happened to the cannons?
Yeah. So essentially the sailboats with the mannequins and they all capsized.
Okay.
So we couldn't even play the game. And that was going to be all four of us. Me, Esteban, Mia, and Brennan playing that game. So they all capsized, and production couldn't put them right side up, and it was pretty wavy. So they had to adjust course.
And the adjustment to course was the treasure chest.
So the adjustment was they were already going to do that game, the bribe. I think so. I don't know what the order of operations was. I think we were going to play the cannons and then do bribe. Maybe, I'm not sure. But we did bribe, and then they had to basically create that new that game where I got eliminated. I think that was a plan B that they wrote.
Wow.
In because they had to figure out a different game
or they had it as a fail safe, hey, in case something weird happens. Or you really think they wrote it right then?
I know they did.
Oh my gosh, that is awesome. So we'll get there in a sec, but kind of back to the treasure chest. $450,000 is a ton of cheese. That's a ton, and Esteban gets to go first, and I'm trying to put myself in your shoes when you share with me that you guys had an alliance, you guys are friends, you both were kind of high level soccer players.
Yeah.
But also you're thinking, hey, I want him to do well, but I'm losing my alliance. What was going through your mind when was it I want you to take it, or I want you to keep going?
Yeah, good question. In my mind, I wasn't necessarily thinking. When the money was offered, the idea of our alliance with Esteban, I kind of went out the window. I was just dude, this is an amazing opportunity for you, and I was so happy for him to be able to have to get this, and so the thought of I'm losing an alliance, my alliance member, it didn't dawn on me in that moment.
That doesn't surprise me. That's I could see you wanting to be happy for him. And to your point, Esteban is young. To get that type of money, and he's just got a great head on his shoulders, a huge heart.
Totally.
A beautiful girlfriend, and he does amazing work in kind of the neuroscience research field.
Yeah.
So he just does for someone at his age to have $450,000, it's man, you can be a good steward of that money, and it can really serve you well for decades to come.
1,000%. I'm getting chills just thinking about that moment because I was genuinely just so happy and stoked for him. It was any gameplay kind of strategy was I forgot about, and it was all what a huge moment for this guy.
Okay. And Esteban's 457. If you're not kind of following Esteban, find him online. He is an awesome guy. He's got a super bright future. So now we're down to the final three. And again, and I'm a numbers guy. I like numbers. I like memorizing people's numbers, do percentages. And if I was in your shoes going, oh, I have a 33% chance of winning a $1.8 million island. What were you thinking now?
That's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, I was stoked for Esteban, but like I think how I was tracking was like my odds just got better, and so like I was, that cannon game would have been really, it would have leveled the playing field of like of how to win, and so
Because it's more in your hands versus teaming up.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, and it was a little bit more, there's a little skill to that, but anyway, I was again feeling lucky because I was doing my ritual, talking to my friend, like I just like, and I wasn't gonna take the 450 either. Like I was really on this path of like, how far can I get?
Sweet. Yeah. I'm pot committed. I'm going to the end.
Exactly.
So, and so when I watch the episode, it's like you have this little bit of rivalry with 7-Eleven Brennan, and then you had those awkward exchanges with Mia, but then you just now share kind of your guys' connection that was off camera. Going into this challenge number 6, when they tee up the rule set, and would you mind kind of just teeing up the rule set to the audience?
Yeah. So basically, we were essentially board game pieces, and there was 3 lines, like by 14 squares, and the purpose of the game is to whoever gets across all 14 squares to the end to get the golden coconut can then choose to offer the coconut immunity to one of the other 2 players. And to get ahead, we had little chalkboard slides with different numbers, 1, 3, and 5, that would determine how many places you can go forward. If you selected and pulled the same number as someone else, so if I chose a 3 and Brennan chose a 3, those would be canceled and we wouldn't progress forward. So there was a communication of like a strategy of like, we would say, all right, I'm gonna choose number 3, and you could lie about that.
And kind of before the game started, like again, you've shared kind of where your stance is with 952 Mia, and it kind of feels like you guys are neutral, if not better. And you shared a little bit kind of with Brennan. What were your thoughts of the relationship between 952 Mia and 7-Eleven Brennan?
I didn't put as much weight into, and I didn't even know the background of their story as much, of like Brennan doing
Bouncing the ball,
balancing the platform, and so I didn't really know that going into it, so I felt, because of kind of like the development of Mia's relationship, that I felt good within that, but I also didn't understand at the time when we first started that it was going to be as kind of like, you need to be able to get ahead in this game, you basically need to like lean on your relationship.
It's kind of hard to process all that, I'm sure, at once. It's like, I mean, because like you have to be a master chess player.
Chess player with like emotions and relationships and like numbers within like of like how to progress like in like on the board game itself.
By the way, this is a lot of fun. I love hearing this from you.
Thanks so much. I love recounting this. This is great.
Well, and it's like in my mind, like I am picturing it all happen. Like everything you tell me, like in my mind, I'm visualizing it because I know all these people.
Right.
Okay, we know the rules. You're essentially human kind of game pieces. That first choice, was that blind? Did you guys communicate what you were doing, or was it everybody kind of chose on their own?
So essentially, and I don't think they show this in the edit, but Brennan first says, "I'm choosing 5," and Mia 3, and then so like he was the first one to say something, and we're still kind of learning how to kind of play the game up front, right? We don't know how to play out, and so I first say, I'm also going to do 5, and thinking that
maybe he'll switch.
This is a game of strategy, manipulate, like bluffing, and I think at that point, like Mia and Brennan both looked at me in a way. It was like, "Oh, you're not gonna play it fair." Like,
Straight up. Yeah, what you're saying, you might not do.
Yes, exactly. And so already at the start, I'm like, "Crap."
Can I take that back?
It's like, well, and then and ultimately I don't follow through with my bluff, and I choose 1, and I didn't have the foresight I guess of like understanding like the gameplay.
And that's a hard one again, because you don't want to again you can quickly make an enemy, and you're also behind, so it's like you bluff, and then you actually are behind literally by 2 and 4 pieces, and it's like, okay, now what? So when did it hit you that you probably weren't going to get across the line and get the coconut?
Probably after the second round of numbers.
So then that's when you realized you had to rely on somebody. And then based on, again, this is my projection. I'm trying to think about what the audience is saying. They're going, okay, you need Mia to win because you have this rivalry with 7-Eleven. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
I thought like if 7-Eleven were to win, I pretty much knew he wasn't going to choose me. So that's when at that point, 7-Eleven Brennan was ahead of Mia and I. So I go to Mia, my new friend, and say, hey, I would like to work with you on this, and like I would like to get to the final together with you. Like, what do you say? And she gives me a non-committal response. She's like, I won't lie about the numbers I'm going to put out here. So she's non-committal. And I ultimately understand that I basically need to send as much love and appreciation and gratitude and respect to Mia, because I'm going to lean on this relationship and try to convince her to choose me for, because I know that Brendan's not going to choose me. So then it becomes like a game of speeches.
And it was cool to see those speeches. Like, did you, is that when you learned about the balancing the ball? They were on the same team?
That's when I learned. And so I'm like, I was like, one is that, yes, okay, I see that we're like, I wasn't on the helicopter with them, so I don't know about like their dynamic and like how much like Mia actually feels thankful or grateful to Brendan for what he did on the platform challenge, and like what she felt like she owed him. But she also had said many times, especially also in the Captain Circle game with boxes, that she wants to do this on her own. She doesn't want to owe anything to anyone. Yeah. And she's like going with God in her gut, and like this is how she does. So I lean into that. I thought my arguments, my speech was actually, I had way better points, like based on actual like emotion and character and.
Proven in the game, you kind of said, hey, I'm going to be honest with you on the check boxes. You kind of offered her the olive branch to kind of go, hey, I will help you. Like, do you want to work with me? And then obviously you kept her safe. Or I mean, you were honest with where that there wasn't an X.
Totally. And so I was leaning on that relationship and that development. And I really thought, honestly, that the argument that like, oh, I got you here on the helicopter because of the platform. Like I thought that was light. That was like, that's like, I understand that is your one like kind of argument here, but I was like, I'm leaning into like this woman's heart.
Like, we were on a private island beach, and I am weeping for real reasons, and you're being there for me. Yeah,
exactly.
So okay, so let's kind of fast forward. Everybody's seen this. Like, Mia gets to the end. You keep blocking 7-Eleven. You keep blocking Brennan, so Mia keeps advancing. You know, at the end, like, the way they show it is like she kind of comes in front of you and you're kind of like squatting down or close to your knees. Like, is that really how it was?
Yeah. She had like a response to Brendan and I's speeches prior to her kind of deciding where to go. And so within that response, I kind of had a sense of where she was leaning. And so that's when I kind of went down to my squatted on my knees. And then as she came, so I already felt like she wasn't going to choose me at that point. But then when she came over for the, to my side, I was like, there was a little bit of hope.
It started coming back, the pump fake. Like, wait,
I was like, should I stand back
yes.
up?
Should I put out my arms ready to receive the coconut?
Yeah, exactly. And then obviously, as she shared with me before, she plays it up. She's good on TV, and fakes it out and goes to Brendan, and that's when I kind of like dropped to my butt and I'm like, just reflecting on the journey, and I say this, I'm like, I'm not. I didn't have any animosity towards Mia in choosing Brennan, and so my tears weren't like I'm not gonna win the money. It's more that like my journey was over. The fun is over. My connection with my friend in this unique way is over, and so that's what I was kind of feeling the weight of that. Like, so that was
and this is like one of the most common questions. Like, how did you not take $100,000? Like, how did those people not take $1 million? That's another question. But it's like one of these things where it's like, it is a journey that you want to keep playing. Like, it is so fun, and especially for you, it's not only fun, it's meaningful, it's cathartic. So like kind of looking back, like, what did Beast Games mean to you?
Yeah. I think that your word cathartic is exactly right. What an odd way to try to heal your heart, right?
Go on a MrBeast challenge? I mean, are you kidding me?
And like, going into it, like we knew nothing about the games. I personally didn't know much about MrBeast. And then when we get to Vegas,
we knew nobody.
I saw.
Yeah, like, what? We knew nobody. It's not like we had any friends.
We knew nobody, but also like, and I saw in your previous one of your previous episodes, like when you got to Vegas, you were older than that me, right? And I feel like a fish out of water, and I'm like, we are in the internet with all the internet people, and
what am I doing here?
Like, it's what am I doing here? Exactly right. But at the end of the day, and my reflection on it is like, one, I got to connect with people I would have never otherwise connected with, hear their stories. I got to play. I got to have add this story, this life experience to like my mosaic of life experiences that I will always have. And that is like, that's what I can take away from the experience. And it was cathartic, and I got to compete again, and we'll see what happens. Like, we'll see where this kind of lily pads into next, right?
No, I mean, I think based on kind of what I've seen and my friends, like, people liked you. People wanted you to kind of win the island. Like, I mean, obviously, like, you're easy on the eyes and you're kind of clever with your words. So it's like, oh my gosh, 441, he was great. I wanted him to win. So I mean, but like, so now that kind of your journey on the show is over, like what did you think of the edit? Like, were you happy with how they shared like the island episode?
Yeah, overall, yeah. I think like, and I told you like this is what I wrote down in my journal on a daily basis is like, have fun and be myself, and I truly do think that within that is myself. That is you see, like they were trying to at one point like play a little bit of like maybe a villain card of like messing with Mia or whatever like, but like no, she was kind of. I was just like, I was a little scared of me. Mia. My favorite part of the episode was when she's like, "Why did you lie about? Or like why aren't you telling me about the check mark?" And I go, "I don't know. I'm just really nervous." Like that's me. That's authenticity right there. It's just like I'm just nervous.
And another part that I loved about you were like, I'm probably gonna manipulate people. Sorry, Mom. like that's you too. Like, hey, I have to play the game, but it's kind of weird.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I did like. I thought that the edit was great. It was fun to get, and we'll see this in future episodes to come, which I'm really excited about. Is getting to know
People.
the top 60 or like the top 50 now. So
it felt like a very cool turning point in the show where like, and then this is one of the reasons why I loved it because I got to know everybody on the island to a degree, but to see them share that with everybody else was awesome. And I think they did a great job of kind of sharing everybody's personalities. And then kind of we'll go in, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on kind of the last challenge. But before we go there, aside from competing from the island, was there a favorite challenge that you had in the games?
Good question. I would, man. I was on 2 star.
I was about to say, if you say 2-star, you might be a little.
No, I'm not saying
man.
2-star because that was too much. That was intense, and I lost two of my best friends in the games at that point. Like they self-eliminated. I was like, all right,
Wow.
I need new friends. But I would say actually, I know it was intense for a lot of people, but the cube challenge. And our cube wasn't shown much, but what me, Monty, and Brina, we decided that we were ultimately going to play a fair chance game of war at the end of our 5 hours. But until then, we were going to have as much fun as possible. And so we were actually in the fun montage. Like, we made like paper bag packs. We had massages. We had a psychic come. We were dancing. Like that's that was just true to us, and it was playful and true to me, just and fun, and it was about this awesome relationship that I had with these girls, and then we had our fair chance game of war, and I got out of the challenge, but like seeing everyone's coming out of that was like we had a pretty great time.
Yeah, it sucks that Brina's gone. I mean, she's a friend, but it's like I feel okay.
Yeah, I feel okay.
Walk into that holding room.
The holding room, and I see everyone. I see you. I see Gage. I see people are in shambles.
I was bad. Bad.
Yeah.
On that note, like you're having fun in the cubes. You have a psychic come in.
Yeah.
Is there anything you're willing to share with us about what the psychic told you?
It's hard. I don't remember like the specifics. However, what I can say is, so me and Monty get our tarot cards read first, and it's really like optimistic. Things are looking good. Like the story that she's telling, and then for Brina, it's actually it wasn't. It was a kind of a darker, more negative like reading, and so she ended up doing another reading just to we kind of.
I can't end on that note.
Yeah, and then Brina was the one that got eliminated.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's like I love when they showed the snapshot of the psychic on that episode, like just briefly.
Right. Yeah.
Super. So you get eliminated. You kind of process it. You realize kind of your journey's come to an end. By the way, awesome way to kind of go out. Like it was like a choose your own adventure. Like you played and you got to play the game.
Yeah.
Now that you kind of went home and you get to see what the final challenge was. And again, we're still waiting to see who won the island. How do you think you would have fared in a challenge like that? I mean, it's kind of a bluffing game and a guessing game.
I personally think, like, I've played like Liar's Dice. I love Liar's Dice as a game, and it's this seems fairly similar, right? And I think I would have done fairly well. I feel like lucky in those types of games, and like I would have leaned into like as bluffing, changing, like making different sounds with, like, just trying to really get in my opponent's head. I would have played that up quite a bit.
I can see, I mean, because again, like you kind of get, like, when I first saw you on the check boxes, I was like, oh, I haven't seen this side of Harrison. Like, it was kind of cool. Meaning, like, it's like you're so congenial, you're honest, but you're also like, oh, I'll play tough when I have to.
Yeah, I want to compete,
which is sweet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was there any, like, do you think you would have, so you would just kind of make noises, you'd kind of, like, would you answer questions? Like, if Mia or Brennan said to you, like, hey, 441, which box is the deed in?
That's a really great question. I'm almost putting myself in like their shoes right now, and I'm like, I would definitely be feeling the nerves, and so I know I'd be tripping over my words and stuff like that. I'm not like cool, calm, and collected. Like, even though you're complimenting me with, like, you look cool and calm, like, but like there's like a lot of frantic energy going on inside. I would have, who's to say what, like, if I would have like told the truth, but I would definitely be asking a lot of questions to, like, see if I can, like, get a read, like, similar to what I thought Misha was going to do.
Exactly. In interrogation. And it's one of these things where, like, I think back, like, the first time I kind of felt like I was going to have to, like, play a bluffing game was back in Vegas when they reeled out the briefcases. And I'm like, oh, no. I don't want to do this. Steal or no steal. Like, I don't know how to bluff.
Right.
So,
Right.
Yeah. You don't know what you're going to do until you're in the moment.
Yeah.
So we'll have to kind of stay tuned for episode 6 to see who wins the island. I mean, $1.8 million island in the middle of Panama is awesome.
Crazy. Very awesome.
Well, one of the things that you did with this episode is, most people don't know this, is we're all watching this for the first time, just as you guys are in the audience. But you can pick and choose. Do you watch it at home? Do you watch it on your phone? Harrison, how about you tell us how you watched this episode?
Yeah. I've been watching I watched, like, the first episode with, like, my brother and my mom in, like, my apartment. And other than that, I've just been kind of catching the show, like, as soon as it comes out, like on TV. But for this episode, given that I knew I was going to be, on this episode featured, I decided to rent a theater out in San Francisco, and I invited about 70 people.
Really?
70 people came. And it was so fun having people hoot and holler and cheer and boo, like, throughout, like, the entire experience. Like, I'm up on this platform just, like, at the front of the theater, and so people can kind of see me, like, reacting. This is my first time seeing, like, the episode, and I obviously know when how things are playing out, and so, like, as an example, when people were voting, showing, like, voting me off, like, potentially off the island, everyone's going, boo, boo, boo. And then finally, when they see that, I didn't get voted off, everyone was like, yeah, like, the whole theater erupted. So that environment with, like, that energy and all the people, and, like, who have been following my, my journey and just being on it, it was
so cool. Cause like you're there in your jersey, you probably get up and say a few words. Like, I saw one of your clips on Instagram where, like they were responding to, I think it was 9:30 Patrick, like he's funny, I like him. And everybody's like, yeah.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I did a Q&A after.
Sweet. That's like one of my favorite things. I'm telling, like, my friends, I'm like, hey, like, and because, like, a lot of their kids, like, love MrBeast. I'm like, text me. Like, you can ask me anything. Like, I want to be able to share this stuff.
100%. That's been that's like I mentioned at the start of this our chat. That's what I've really been enjoying. The people reaching out, they're watching like with their family, with their kids, and they have questions, and like they're sending me videos of like, hey, I had a question about this, and I respond with a video. And like that level of like I can offer a little insight or a little joy to kind of like these fans of the show or of MrBeast. Like that's been super special. I ask for more of that. I really, it's been really a treat for me to kind of.
You heard it here. So check out Harrison on Instagram and ask him for BTS info. And speaking of Harrison, where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram. Heshi Baby is my Heshi_baby is my Instagram. It's my nickname. So yeah, feel free to reach out.
Awesome. Harrison, we have to do this more often. This was a lot of fun. Even, I mean, because we're essentially neighbors, we got to grab a coffee in person and just catch up. But thank you so much for tuning in for another episode of the Beast Files. I am Jeff831, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And if there's other people like Harrison who you want me to sit down with, throw them in the comments. We'll reach out and see if we can make it happen. Until then, we'll see you on episode 6.